Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Kamari Ellis here, and you're watching the Finance Rebel Show. The Finance Rebel Show is all about financial elevation, business, taxes, investments, business, anything that will increase your bottom line is something that we talk about. But we know one of the biggest things when it comes to financial elevation is a mindset change. So never be afraid to change your mindset because that's where the real jewels and gems of any wealth strategy lie. So today I'm just on, again, real quick, want to tell a story about something I've been battling with a client of mine and their advisor or their audit advisor and the IRS. So it's been quite a challenge, to say the least. So client of mine has multiple properties, does some flipping, does some rental, does some Airbnb. But they're pretty well established in real estate. And they've been around for a while. Now, they had an accountant previously. They stopped working with that accountant or that professional because they disappeared. Discovered me, and then we started working together. And as I was going over his paperwork that he had previously, I noticed some weird things. So some of the things that I noticed that were a little weird were he had an LLC, but his tax paperwork was filed as a corporation. So that's a red flag to me right away. And then, I started looking over the paperwork. I started looking at some of the things, some of the expenses that were on there. A lot of things were missing that, is really pertinent to a real estate investor, a real estate flipper. And it just became apparent to me that something was a little off there. I've been around for a while, so I've kind of seen a lot of the tricks of trade out there. And I don't even know if I should call it trade, but I've seen a lot of the tricks, right? So I'm looking over the paperwork. I'm looking over the tax returns. The client doesn't really have a good bookkeeping system, right? That's something I tell all my real estate investors. You need good books. You need a good accounting system, bookkeeping system, whatever you want to call it. I know nobody likes to do it, but to really be serious about calling yourself a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself, you have to operate and conduct yourself as a business owner. And businesses do books. Why? For a couple of reasons. To keep track of the money that they make, to keep track of the money that they spend, to see if they're going to be efficient with their overall business. Does it make sense? Are they making money? Are they losing money? You really never know any of these things unless you take the time to do your books. So, but anyway, books are in shambles. I'm looking over the tax records. They're not well. And again, the tax preparer disappeared. Actually, disappearing is one of the biggest telltale signs of what I call a lot of fly-by-night. I call them data entry processors, but let's call them tax preparers. So that's one of the things that many tax preparers do. They open up a shop for a little while during tax season usually, and then they disappear. So they're there from, let's say, January to April, maybe May, and then they disappear. I'm around all year long. This is what I do. But I've seen that so much over the years. And, a lot of times people may go to a person that's a little bit cheaper, quote unquote cheaper. Sometimes they'll go to a person because they have a reputation for getting big refunds, or some people call it big tax return. All of those things are telltale signs that you're dealing with somebody that I would call a janky advisor. But anyway, just going on into the story a little bit more. So they couldn't figure out any of this stuff. My client with the tax records, they had needed to do a refi. Now, if you've listened to a lot of the stuff I talk about with business owners who aren't really up to code and compliance, a lot of times they'll be lax on their books and their taxes until a major life event happens. They need to refi. They want to buy a property. They want to buy a house. They want to get a loan. They want to do something. And then all of a sudden, they want to get their taxes in order. I always say, just do it right from the get-go, and you won't have to worry about any of that going forward. But nevertheless, clients need to do a refi on one of their properties, looking to expand and buy more properties. But they don't have their tax records again. So I pull transcripts just to double check and see what's going on. And the transcripts I'm talking about are transcripts from the IRS. I pull transcripts. I can't find any record of this real estate investor filing taxes at all. At all. Can't find any record of them filing taxes. I've checked under LLC. I've checked under corporation. I've checked under S Corp. I can't find anything. It's like one big black hole at this point. And so, I go back to the client and I say, well, do you know what you are registered as? They're not sure what they're registered as, right? So you have a client that's unknowing about what's going on with their books, unknowing what's going on with their taxes, with the tax professional that they used, and they don't know what kind of entity they are, business structure, right? They don't know if they're an LLC, if they're sole prop, if they are a corporation. They don't know what they are. So they're really flying blind at this point, right? So it's really hard to direct your business when you're flying blind. So anyway, we do a call yesterday. Now, any tax pro will tell you calling the IRS is like a crapshoot. Called the IRS yesterday, was literally on hold with the client for about 2 hours. Painful. Luckily, I called again today with the client on the line, and we got through in about 15 minutes. So it was much, much less painful. And as we're on, we go through the process of talking to the IRS person. We get all the information. We have them do what's called an EIN search or a business search, because a lot of people do lose their original EIN paperwork or employer identification paperwork. And so we had to call and get that. So we called. And so just like I told the client before, there was nothing on record when I pulled transcripts. And so we call the IRS. We get to the bottom of it. Guess what? It's not a corporation. It's what's called a single member LLC. That's why I couldn't find any of these things. All right. It's called a single member LLC. That's what they have filed. Two different business structures, two different organizations, both filed as single member LLCs. And remember, I said at the very top of this that this tax pro, this Janky advisor, filed using a corporation tax return. So I know that might be overly technical for some of you, but basically they filed a personal tax return, right? Because let me just back up for a minute. A single member LLC gets filed on a person's personal tax return, whether you have a business or rental property. It gets filed on a person's personal tax return. It's not a business tax return. Again, I've been talking about this, about knowing your entity for a while now, especially when it comes to real estate investors. So the real estate investor didn't know the entity. The Janky advisor just did some data entry, right? I can't say it was tax preparation. I can't say it was accounting. I have no idea what they were doing, but, filling in the dots and try to do color paint or something. I don't know. But again, talk to them being the IRS with the client on the line. The IRS let them know there's never been a return filed for any of these LLCs. And again, I called with the client on the line because, a lot of times I run into people who are distrusting, right? I run into people who've been burnt a lot of times. I run into people who've worked with people who are integrable or have no honor. I'm not trying to put myself up on a pedestal, but my overall feeling is my soul has to be able to sleep at night. So I really don't believe in doing people bad. And when you look at a lot of the testimonials and things that I've gotten over the years, it reflects that. I mean, I literally turn down money, if I feel I can't do a good job or that there's something else janky going on, because I do run across people trying to do what I call black market business or under the table business all the time. I can't be involved with that. They send people like me that look like me to jail often for stuff like that. So, but anyway, the IRS agent let them know it was a single member LLC. The returns had never been filed. And they let us know that they're probably looking at a lot of penalties for this. But I'm actually happy that it's not a corporation. I'm actually happy that it's not what would be called a multi-member LLC. I'm actually happy that it's not a sole proprietorship. Excuse me. I'm happy that it's not an S Corp or C Corp. Why? Because when you fail to file those, I When you fail to follow those, the penalty is much higher. If the penalty is much higher, your interest rates, and the IRS is like a loan shark when it comes to interest, are much higher. So you wind up paying a lot more money. So again, my advice to people, number one, when you form your entities, when you create your business structures, I don't care if it's a sole prop, if it's an LLC, if it's a partnership, S Corp, a C Corp, keep the paperwork. You should be getting paperwork from the state. You should be getting paperwork from the federal government or the IRS. Keep that paperwork. Scan it up, put it in the cloud or your hard drive somewhere. I would say all three. I would say have a hard copy, have a copy, and have a copy digitally on your desktop or on your drive or your PC, and also have it in the cloud somewhere. God forbid you ever have a fire. God forbid ever something ever goes wrong. You have it. You need that paperwork. You need that paperwork for a myriad of reasons. So have that paperwork. 2, keep good books. Keep good books. Keep good books. Keep good books. And if you don't understand how to do books, look it up. I mean, you've got so many resources out there floating around. YouTube can be your friend. Google is your friend. They're great starting places. And then you could always ask me. I usually give out my text number for people to text me, ask me questions. Sometimes I'll take those questions and I will do videos on them because I feel that they could help other people. So, don't just, ignorance is no excuse under the law, right? Now, some of the agencies will give some lenience, but remember, ignorance is no excuse under the law. You got to do your work. You got to do your research. You got to do your due diligence. I see way too many people on social media talking about they want to be a business owner. They hustle and they want to make money. They don't want to do what the man did. Well, guess what? If you are not ready to be responsible for making payments to the government, for making payments to employees and contractors, maybe you should stay at your job. It's nothing wrong with working a job. There's a thing called maturity, right? You might not be mature enough yet. And, that's okay. But that's really keeping it real with yourself and understanding what you need to do to be successful. Now, sadly, a lot of times people are a little bit too cocky or a little bit too arrogant to really keep it real with themselves. And that's, again, okay, they'll learn the hard way. They'll learn through losing money or losing time or both. Ideally, I don't want you to lose anything. That's why I try to come on and spread as much knowledge as possible. But remember, keep your paperwork, do good books, check behind your tax rules, check behind any of your financial advisors. Like if anybody you work with has a problem with being double checked or being audited, so to speak, then that's not the person for you. And I don't mean you try to challenge their professional integrity, but that just means that you have their paperwork, you have receipts of things that are being filed, you have invoices from them sending them over to you. You know that they're going to be around. They have a reputation for being around. Don't work with fly-by-night people. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a massive headache and can leave you with a broken heart. Work with people who are established. Now, that don't mean you don't give a good person, a person with some integrity, a chance maybe to see what they can do, but give them something small to work on, something that ain't going to hurt you. Again, this person had done these taxes for years and years and years and collected fees for years and years and years. And, I had to have an honest conversation with my client because they had, quote unquote, prepared taxes. But again, after I looked at the taxes, they missed a lot of deductions, a lot of tax write-offs. And I said, you can go back and get your money. I wouldn't file these tax returns that you have because I can tell they're not right. They missed one thing called depreciation. Depreciation is when you write off the value of your real estate property that you're renting out. Usually you get to write that off over 27 and a half years, right? So let's say you bought a property for $100,000, divide that $100,000 into 27, let's say 27.5 years. You get to write off that number over all those years, usually, just using basic depreciation. that was missing. That's usually the biggest deduction for any real estate investor. Again, you want to be able to do all these things. You want to be able to check up on all these things, because again, it's going to cost you in the end. And guess what? If you catch the right person at the IRS, they might cut you a break, but 9 times out of 10, they don't care. They're just doing a job. And so there is no backup. There's no recourse for that. The biggest thing you can do to protect yourself is do business right and in proper order, and hold your advisors accountable. That's what you should be doing if you're really here to do real business. All right. So, you guys know I do these daily on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to join in the conversation with me throughout the week, you can come on over to the Finance Rebel Academy. I know it says in the header that the Finance Rebel group is actually the Finance Rebel Academy. Just go to Facebook, type in Finance Rebel Academy. And we have a growing community over there of a bunch of people who are always talking about finance, whether it's real estate, taxes, business, various different things. There's the only way to increase your level of financial literacy, the only way to increase your level of financial education is really to get involved with it and stay in contact and community with people who are on the same path. So come on and join us over at the Finance Rebel Academy. Like I said, we're always talking about money every day of the week. And lastly, if you all have a question and want to shoot me a question, text me 484-278-1357, 484-278-1357. Remember, the Finance Rebel Show comes on daily. I have not locked down actual time, but I come on daily. And if you have any questions, shoot them my way. But we're on daily on Facebook and on YouTube. Again, it's all about financial elevation. Loiterers should be arrested. Don't be a financial loiterer. All right, it's time for everybody to step their game up. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you all next time.